Welcome in to the 143. This is under review.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back.
I know you missed us so much, but it is Wednesday. Hopefully,
Once again,
that you're listening
your
to this on
favorite
Wednesday.
time of the week.
The time where we bring you our recap of the last week of the NFL. And I got to say, I haven't got used to it yet. You know, it's just a lot of fun watching football every week.
Indeed.
I felt like the months without it were a lot longer this time than they ever have been. So I am overjoyed to have football back. And we are excited today because the Cowboys beat the Giants last night with our boy Cooper Rush.
We did. It was
as the
Cooper
QB.
Rush hour, as per usual, when that man is in there. The Cowboys own MetLife. I think that's been
Yeah, I'm pretty
a
sure
safe bet.
when we go to MetLife, it feels just like AT&T Stadium. Like it's a home game.
It's our home away from home.
It really is. I actually think we win more at MetLife than we do at AT&T
We
Stadium.
probably have.
We do. We definitely have a higher winning percentage there, especially this season. We're 100% there. So let's just start it off with the stat of the week. Speaking of Cooper Rush, because this week is all about Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is now 3-0 as your Dallas Cowboys starter. He won against Minnesota in Minnesota last year, and then he is 2-0 this season. That makes him 3-0. That stat brought to you by Andrews Logistics.
Just for all of you that can do math out there, that is a perfect 100% winning percentage.
Exactly.
He is perfect when he's in the driver's seat.
Dak is not.
Needless to say, that is our player of the week, obviously. He threw for 215 yards and 1 touchdown. No interceptions. Thank you very much. Completed 21 of his 31 passing attempts. That comes out to a 67% completion rating.
And the most important part is he got the win.
He was able to drive down and give us that go-ahead touchdown at the end of the game there, and he just looked comfortable the whole game in the pocket. He was hitting CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he doesn't look nervous.
That Peyton Hendershot, he was the tight end that we had because Dalton Schultz was out. He stepped up and played a pretty significant role and showed off his abilities Monday night, which was pretty impressive. So all around, it was a phenomenal effort.
Great job by the Cowboys defense as well. Mainly a lot of why we won last night was because of them.
The defense?
Trayvon,
Yes.
great pick at the end. First pick of the season.
Woo-hoo.
Good to see that. Caught it better than any receiver.
Daniel Jones alive.
And then we had so many pressures on the QB with 5 sacks. Daniel Jones was running for his life all night. D-Law was coming out and looking like D-Law from 5 years ago, the reason why we paid him. So he's finally maybe showing out a little bit.
Yep.
I'm not going to say the Giants O-line is amazing because it's not, but it was just good to see our guys getting up in there.
It was nice to see our defense manhandle them.
So great game from the Cowboys. I know it was against the Giants, but right now we have our backup starting. Cooper's looking great. And a lot of people are saying maybe keep him in even when Dak's back. I doubt that'll happen.
I don't think that could possibly happen just because of how much we're paying Dak. We would get absolutely flamed.
Yeah, it's not a great look if you're paying. I mean, if Cooper Rush was significantly better, but I mean, there's a case you could make to where Cooper should be starting. I think once Dak gets back, they'll put him in. I think if Dak starts losing, we should put Cooper back in. It's good. Also, maybe it'll give some motivation for Dak to know that he has some competition.
He's like, hey, I got to start performing or else maybe
your job is not automatic
I'm
right
not
now.
In the driver's seat anymore.
Yeah, you don't get the automatic start because Cooper's been winning. Dak could be back next week against the Commanders, which would be hopefully a good game to get him back into the system.
Get him acclimated before we have to
If
play
he comes
the Rams.
back and we lose against the Commanders, I say cut him immediately.
If we're losing at halftime, I say yank him.
Yeah, I agree. So it'll be interesting to see what we do from here on out. Like we said, low expectations coming into the season. So we're just happy to see a couple wins in a row.
Yeah,
I don't think
we have a
do
winning
that.
record right now, and so let's just cherish that because
And it could be the only time this season. You don't know.
Who knows
we
how
don't
long
know.
that'll be.
So great win from the Dallas Cowboys. But it is now time for me to take a moment to talk about one of the better games this weekend. I just got to say, a lot of people don't know what it's like to be right all the time. I do.
I do. I know what it's like.
You don't.
Right. I'm right all the time.
You don't, because
there is Once every solar eclipse, I will be wrong.
Nope. This weekend, your Miami Dolphins, my Miami Dolphins, beat the Buffalo Bills, who Nick said was going to win the division and this past game. Mm-hmm. And they've won in Miami. Great win for the Dolphins. Great win for me. I was right. Nick was wrong. And I just got to say, it feels good. It feels really good. I even talked to Nick about getting like a Dolphins chain, like to wear for the show, which I haven't done yet, but I might. But I'm just riding that high right now of being right, sticking with my team, with my other team, because the Cowboys are my team. But man, those Dolphins, they came out. In all seriousness, it was a good game, and the Bills had a couple opportunities, and they didn't look like they were ready at the end.
The offense was just it was a very poor effort from the offense with all the weapons that they have. Well, the big thing for me was I was looking at all of the defensive guys that were not playing this week due to injuries, and that really didn't even seem to be the problem. It was just the offense for some reason couldn't score any points.
It was a lot more low scoring of a game than a lot of people thought it would be.
And obviously, Josh Allen, on that 4th and goal at the end of the game, he had Isaiah McKenzie wide open.
He missed the 4th and goal out.
Just threw a terrible ball straight into the ground. He knew it as soon as he threw it. Cause
he took the loss pretty hard.
He collapsed. There's just something about Josh Allen. It's just like he has not figured out how to clutch up, if you get what I'm saying. Like, he can win, but it's like he always falls short, just barely, every single year.
So I'll give a brief recap of like the last 5 minutes of the game, though.
I don't really want to blow this game out of proportion and like say, now the Bills aren't going to win the Super Bowl or all this and that and the other.
I'm literally saying that right now.
But Josh Allen, he'll get his groove. He'll make up for that. And the Bills will be rolling.
Basically what happened is kind of a crazy sequence. 4th and goal, Bills on like the 2-yard line. They decide to go for it. They're down by 4. It's 21-17 with like 4 minutes to go in the game. Out route, Josh Allen just spikes it into the ground. Terrible throw. He knew it. Dolphins get the ball back. Bills defense stops them. Like they stay on the 2 pretty much. Punt in the end zone, and the punter kicks it off his own guy, and it bounced out of the end zone for a safety. So basically the Bills got 2 free points out of that and the ball back with like a minute something left to go in the game. And they were driving down the field with 18 seconds left, get the ball to McKenzie. They have no timeouts, and McKenzie tries to run up the field instead of running out of bounds for a field goal. So what happened to the Cowboys last season happened to the Bills this game. They didn't have enough time, and the game just ended.
I don't know if you saw what happened like right after time expired.
To the OC?
Yes. He just went absolutely insane in the booth up top. Like he starts he was like slamming his iPad, and he's just going crazy, like throwing stuff, trying to break the table. I mean, you understand, but he was just not happy because I guess he felt like he called a great game, and then there at the end, it just doesn't quite go your way.
The Bills had many opportunities to win, but they didn't. And so that was one of the bigger games this weekend. And the Dolphins they really came out and they showed out. And it'll be, I don't think the Dolphins are going to go undefeated for the entire season, but I think they're a lot better than people give them credit for. Like, they're coming out and they're beating some good teams right now. So if they can keep it up, and when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, it just makes it that much easier to win ball games. And Tua's looking great. He is threading the needle on some of these throws. And like I said, I called all of that, and I said all summer leading up into this that the Dolphins were going to be great. Tua was going to be great. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill was going to be great. So am I surprised that this is happening? Absolutely not. But I'm overjoyed to see that I was right about the Dolphins-Bills game.
Yeah, this one you just kind of got to take in the teeth and just move on.
I don't know when the other Bills-Dolphins game is, but I'm assuming it's
probably
little bit
like
later.
Towards the end of the season.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that one. But that'll be a lot of fun. And like I said, Dolphins country, let's ride or swim. That's how we do it, guys. That's all I'm saying. All right,
we'll see.
Y'all know all summer I've been talking about the Dolphins, and it's finally showing that I know what I'm talking about, and Nick does not.
Hey, well, all I gotta say is we got a lot of weeks left
Yeah,
to play
just take the
football.
L.
A ton of weeks
take it.
left. See, he's just taking
Take
all of
the
it
L.
in right now because he understands that
Man,
by
it
the end
was
of the
so
season,
nice.
it is going to be a completely different game.
No, I'm good. I'm good with where I'm at. I was right.
Yeah,
day one.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
you got to take in all the glory you can now because it won't be there.
Oh, it
It
will.
will not be apparent
It
at the
will.
end of the season. Josh Allen's Bills will curb stomp everybody in their path.
No, they won't. The other bigger game, highlighted game, Bucks Packers.
That was
kind of a boring
pretty
game.
boring.
Very
14-12
defensive.
final score.
I was not too happy that the Packers won that game. But the Bucks just did not have any of their receivers at all. They were missing Julio Jones, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin. That's all their guys.
They were playing with Russell Gage.
Yeah, their number one
And
was
then
Russell Gage.
They got Cole Beasley pretty recently, and
This
he
week.
didn't even play like all that much. Like they would like stick him in on like 3rd down and 4th down.
Yeah, I was confused as that as well because Cole Beasley, he's still really good. I thought the Cowboys should get Cole Beasley, but hey, we don't do that. But yeah, I don't know what happened to the Bucks. Honestly, I think the Packers defense just they were getting to Tom Brady pretty quick.
The big thing that everyone wanted to see was, or the thing that was getting talked about, I know, was Todd Bowles, obviously the defensive coordinator, going up against Aaron Rodgers because that was
it
a
was
huge
big
rivalry
matchup.
because Aaron Rodgers has been owned by Todd Bowles and his defense. And then I think still they got owned, but it was just that the Packers defense played better. I don't
Yes.
think it was because the Packers offense played better than the Bucks offense. I think it was because the Packers defense was
Basically,
better.
what happened is the Packers scored a quick 14 points in the first quarter. They didn't score for the rest of the game.
And that was it.
It's just the Bucks couldn't
The Bucks
get any
offense
offense.
just stunk. Like they could not do anything.
They had a chance to tie it at the end with a 2-point conversion, and they weren't able to do it. There was a false start, pushed them back, and they just weren't able to get it done. But I will say, the NFL is all about overreacting, as you just saw me do about the Dolphins-Bills game.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't think there's any need to the Bucks will be fine, and the Bills will be
They
fine
have
as
Tom
well. But the
Brady.
Bucks will be fine.
They just need their receivers back, obviously.
I think you get a Packers-Bucks matchup in the postseason. Bucks all day.
I mean, Tom Brady's a playoff quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is not.
Tom Brady, it's his whole career. September's not really his month. Mm-hmm. It's when it matters most, November, December, that he really turns it on and he really gets his team going. So I'm not worried about Brady at all. I still think the Bucks have a really good chance to make it out of the NFC.
I mean, when the lights are shining the brightest, that's when
I
he
would
wins.
rather the Bucks.
That's when he wins.
Honestly, other than the Cowboys, I'd rather the Bucks make it out of the NFC than anyone.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
I think they'll be fine. There was a good divisional matchup, Rams-Cardinals. Rams took the win on that. I don't think anybody was too worried about that.
Yeah. Another boring game was the Broncos.
I was about to bring that up.
49ers. That was
We need to talk about Russell
utter
Wilson.
punter battle.
We need to talk about Russell Wilson. He's been pretty disappointing in his Broncos career so far.
Yeah.
I know the fans are
Absolutely.
disappointed, as they should be. Russell Wilson, great guy, and he's an amazing quarterback. I feel like, though, we did talk about how he was going to come out and probably, be a little rocky starting out. It's just a new offense. I don't think they're, again,
acclimated.
3
right?
games in, there's no need to overreact. You get 8 games in, you can definitely talk about it a little
But
bit
I mean,
more.
you just kind of get a little worried because their point production has just been so low.
So low. And they really only won the game because Jimmy Garoppolo decided to back up all the way out of the end zone and then throw the ball from out of bounds. So it was a safety.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo safetied himself in that game. It was a pretty funny play. I mean, he's a little rusty right now too. But I don't think necessarily yet there's any need to overreact. I do think Russ is going to need to start getting something going. The 49ers are a
Absolutely.
good defense, but it's Russell Wilson. He's been cooking defenses his entire career. So he's going to need something. They're going up against the Raiders next week. Perfect opportunity for him to
I was
show
about to say,
people.
Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson, all right? He always finds ways to win, and they're facing the 0-3 Raiders, which that is surprising to me.
That is shocking.
0-3?
That the Raiders keep
I
losing.
thought they would be so much better now that they have...
They're not even
now
losing to
that
that,
they
like,
got Devontae Adams.
good teams.
Yeah,
They're
I would
losing
agree.
to, like, average teams. Mm-hmm. So, but also, Derek Carr has always been a more end-of-the-season player as well.
Yeah.
And also, Josh McDaniels, new head coach. I think they're all just trying to figure it out right now. It's a new system. Devontae's new. Like, they're going to have to take some time to get it going. I mean, this is not anything surprising that the Broncos and the Raiders are a little bit worse at the beginning. I think we talked about this, like, in the offseason. We were just saying, like, these new offenses are going to take some time to develop. Like the Browns with when Deshaun Watson comes back, it's going to take a while for them to figure it out. I mean, you can't just throw a bunch of new pieces in there and it clicks just like that.
Yeah.
Especially with the new head coach.
I think at first everyone was expecting the AFC West to just immediately come out and start stomping people. Like, obviously, the Chiefs lost to the Colts, which that was
Shocking.
pretty huge. Obviously, you have the Chargers losing to the Jags, which is
They got, not only did they lose,
a little surprising. They lost by a
38 to 10.
solid amount. It
They
was
lost by
a
4
solid
touchdowns.
amount. And obviously, I think for all four of those teams, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders, it's just going to take them a minute to find their groove, but I think that they will be rolling.
Yeah, so if you think about it, really the only team that stayed the same in that division and got better but stayed the same, like offensively, Chargers. So Chiefs got some new receivers, but they'll be fine. So the two teams that like are okay are the Chiefs and the Chargers. Mm-hmm. But like the Raiders and the Broncos the Raiders have a new head coach, Broncos have a new head coach. Like you just got to take some time to figure it out. In the NFL, it doesn't click like that.
Just like that.
So they're figuring it out. I mean, the Cowboys won't be in the same situation next season with Sean Payton, hopefully, because
Yeah,
Mike McCarthy
obviously.
will hopefully not be as head coach anymore. So you just got to give them some time.
I'm a little disappointed in my Chargers, though. That was my pick to win that division.
I think they'll be okay.
They're just...
They'll be all right.
I understand that it is early on in the season.
Also,
It's only
I don't think
week
Justin
3.
Herbert is completely 100% because
He is
his ribs are
definitely
basically...
not. But he's a dog. He's fighting through it.
He
That's
is.
what you can appreciate.
Your team will be... like, what we've noticed in the NFL, your team's normally fine if you have a good quarterback. Mm-hmm. That's why we're not sure about the Cowboys right now. So, I mean, we have Cooper Rush, but he's not going to be starting all season. So, I think... also... We're going to have to address this. Guys, calm down about the Eagles. I'm so tired of hearing about the Eagles. The Eagles have beaten 3, like, not very good teams, okay?
We were talking about this off air earlier. Like, I understand they're 3-0. They're looking super duper good, but they have a pretty somewhat easy schedule for the whole
Very
year.
easy.
It's very easy at the beginning. It gets a little bit harder towards the end, but for the most part, their schedule is not that difficult. Like, week 1, played the Detroit Lions. Okay, well, they're the Lions. All right. And then week 2, they play the Vikings. A little bit better.
Vikings have not been doing very good.
A little bit better than the Lions, but still not that great of a team. And then this past week,
they whooped the Commanders.
Like, really, Carson Wentz is not the guy.
The Commanders' defense is
I think
terrible.
that's been very clear since the end of his career in Philadelphia.
Everybody also was freaking out. Devontae Smith had like 8 receptions for 170-something yards.
You do understand that is going to happen again this week, and then the next week, and then the next week, and then the next week. It's just whoever's playing the Commanders is going to have
The Commanders aren't good. You know the
pop-off.
one team the Commanders have beaten? It's the Jaguars. And that was a very lucky win, by the way. I'll say that. Trevor Lawrence threw the game away. The Commanders are not good. Carson Wentz is not good. Like, it's just... We're about to play the Commanders, and I really hope we better beat them because they are probably, in my opinion, I think they're a little bit worse than the Giants. Like, as the worst team in our division, they're just not. They don't.
Well, I mean, they're 1-2, and the Giants are at least 2-1.
Yeah, so I don't think that, like the Eagles, they've just beaten some bad teams. We haven't seen them play a good playoff team. The first playoff team from last year on their schedule? It's us in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and we're not even the same
We're a
playoff team we
shadow
were.
of what we were
Yeah.
last year.
So I think that they really haven't played anyone good until
And
they
at
play
least
us.
you can look at our loss that we had, and like it's against the GOAT, okay, and the Buccaneers.
And we should have
Like
won.
that's a notable.
And we had a
that's
very
at least
good
a
shot.
notable team with notable players, right? Obviously, I understand we should have fought a little bit harder, and that we really should have had a chance
Yes.
to win, but we didn't. And then we came out after losing Dak, we beat Cincinnati, and then beat the Giants.
Yeah, so I think the Eagles, there's just right now, 3 weeks in, there's a lot of overreacting. You know, a team that was 3-0 last year that was supposed to be so good because they were 3-0, and we beat them, and then they stunk the rest of the year is the Panthers.
I was about to say.
So, I mean, like, teams
the
are
Panthers
3-0.
started out 3-0. I'm pretty sure the Broncos did.
There's two
as
3-0
well.
teams in the NFL right now. One of them is an imposter. That's the Eagles, and the other one is the future AFC East champ, and that's the Dolphins.
Yeah,
So
that's what people would like to think.
that's what
Or are they
is
both
true.
imposters?
No, they're not. We're going to move into our fantasy segment now after that week 3 recap. Let's just recap some fantasy stuff real quick. Got to give a shout out to myself because I won against Nick this week. But I'm not saying like I had really anything to do with that. It was kind of just a toss-up week.
Yeah, my team just played like absolute dog cheeks.
It was not.
They're all about to get cut, and I hope that they all just would quit football and never ever play again. I was pretty frustrated. Literally everybody on my team underperformed.
So not only did everyone on your team underperform, but a lot of guys that are supposed to be consistent were not. So like Debo, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. Well, actually Devontae did all right. But Joe Mixon, I had him. A lot of fantasy owners are worried about Joe Mixon because he has not been doing great this season. I would say don't overreact yet because it's only week 3. But there were a lot of guys that were taken, early in the draft because they're really good and they're just not performing right now.
One big one was the David Montgomery thing. He's always injured. He got 1 point and then got injured in the first quarter, and that was it. That was his fantasy production of the week. I think it was 1.1.
David Montgomery's hit or miss.
He's a good back, but he just can't stay healthy.
Saquon went off this week, which is good. It's been a while since fantasy managers have seen production from him, so we'll see.
Obviously, another one that was unexpected was Devontae Smith. He had
you can't bet on that every week.
Over 20.
We just talked about that.
That is never going to happen again.
Yeah, it's not. He's not the number one. So I mean, AJ Brown did fine too. Again, the Commanders. It's not.
That's a toss-up.
I mean,
Yeah.
if your guy's playing the Commanders, you start him. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
That's what it's looking
they
like.
They have
'cause
no
their
secondary.
pass defense is awful.
So, Kirk did all right. Kirk Cousins, he's always a solid fantasy quarterback.
He really is, yeah.
Everyone on the Broncos was terrible. You had a lot of guys on the Broncos this week. They were letdowns. Mm-hmm. Like we said, you're going to have to give them some time to get situated in their new offense.
Cooper Kupp had an off week.
Only, I think, like 17 points, which is,
pretty interesting. He's normally good for at least 20.
At the minimum,
maybe
20.
Maybe at least 25.
Yeah,
obviously 17 is still a good production.
Yeah, no, you're not complaining
from a
with
receiver.
17.
We're just saying
Cooper Kupp normally gets like 30.
I'm expecting 35.
Yeah, because of all the targets he gets.
Because he's the only receiver on their team.
I think also don't overreact on any of the Bengals players yet. I know a lot of the receivers had a good week, but they've been having off weeks. Joe Burrow's been having some difficulties. They just got to get everything figured out. New O-line. Like we said, all this new stuff, you can't just start going undefeated.
It's just frustrating because I know there's been a lot of good production on people's benches as well.
Yes.
Like, obviously,
CeeDee Lamb had a good week.
Everyone had Devontae Smith benched. I think, for the most part, everyone had Tyler Boyd benched, who is good for 22, I think. Like you said, CeeDee Lamb, and then a lot of starters were underperforming as well. Jerry Jeudy, 3.7. Like, dude, aren't you supposed to be the wide receiver 1? It's playing like it.
I mean, I feel like the most consistent wide receiver right now is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, even Justin Jefferson hasn't been putting up insane numbers.
And it's just early. You got to give him some time. I think start maybe overreacting. Okay, there's one guy I overreacted on. I traded Derrick Henry during the game last week. Derrick Henry had a good week this week.
I was going to say, a lot of people are freaking out and trading away lots of good players because they have very low value right now. I would say maybe not do that. Just wait a couple more weeks, see if they'll find their groove, see if they start producing well, and then just go from there.
I traded Derrick Henry for A.J. Brown. It was a necessary trade. I don't regret it, but obviously hate to trade him and then see him do good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just don't overreact right now. There aren't very many waiver wire. There really isn't any good waiver wire pickups right now. Keep your team. Keep rolling with them. If you're 1-2 or 0-3, don't go crazy yet. I gotta shout out Ian. Ian lost by like 1 point because Saquon Barkley got like 23.
He was very frustrated.
He was not happy.
I was frustrated for him. I wanted him to win.
Yeah, we did as well. I mean, obviously we're a team here at the 143.
That's right.
Y'all be seeing Ian at some point on our podcast. He'll make a guest appearance for sure. But he took the L this week. But it just wasn't. It really wasn't a high scoring week for anybody. Somebody who popped off this week that shocked me on my team was Hollywood Brown, like 28 points, 14 receptions for 140 yards.
People had said maybe watch Hollywood this season because he played with Kyler in college, but I was definitely not expecting that.
No. I also don't think that's going to happen again.
I was expecting a little more production.
That's not happening again.
That's not happening again.
So that's just our fantasy opinions for this week.
I honestly
don't
feel
overreact.
Fantasy this year has just been off.
It has.
Just like
it's been different.
A little bit different because
nobody's been consistent really.
Especially in the running back position.
Yes.
Like there's no a running
back
that you've been able to count on.
So I think just don't overreact yet and tune in to our fantasy segments every week and we'll keep you updated.
Well, here as we like to end our shows on under review, I've brought to you a quote. We started off this episode talking about Cooper Rush, so I figured what better way to end it than to bring up Cooper Rush,
the man of the hour.
Come full circle, okay? So, just to give you a little bit of context for this quote, this was in the post-game interview on Monday night. The person that was doing the interview asked Cooper Rush about the QB battle and the QB controversy that has been brought up in recent weeks because of Cooper Rush being an absolute baller.
Yes.
And his response was, I want to keep winning as long as I'm in there. Let's just keep winning, playing smart, and trusting each other. Absolute dog.
Team
said
player
the right
there.
thing. Yes, team player. He's basically saying, I really don't care what happens as long as the Cowboys keep winning.
Exactly.
I'm good. Whether I'm QB1 or QB2.
Cooper Rush is the man right now. Until Dak shows us something, I'm going to be Team Cooper Rush.
So that's a lesson to everyone out there.
So good job, Cooper.
Be a team player. Do whatever it takes to keep winning.
Exactly. Just like we will here on Under Review. Thank you for tuning in this week. We'll see y'all next week. Keep in touch with your fantasy team and the NFL, and we will bring you more news.
We'll see you next time.
Next week.